Hi guys, it's a beautiful fall day, but the nights are getting really chilly, and it's time for me to prepare my geraniums to go indoors for the winter. And the process I use is to unpot them. I shake all the soil off, and then I hose it off so that we have bare roots. And basically you're storing a bare root plant. And I did these a couple days ago, and as you can see, these are white geraniums. They were a lot smaller, but as you can see, the leaves are starting to die back. So I just have these outside in a shady location. You want to make sure they're getting plenty of air circulation so they can dry out. So these roots should look dry, the leaves should be dry. The stems may still look green when you box them up, but the idea is to keep them outside, feeling chilly temperatures but not freezing. If it becomes freezing, you have to bring them in. That's the whole point of bringing them in. They don't survive a frost. But that's why I do it now. We still have a couple weeks probably before our frost. And I'll just let all of my geraniums dry out, let those leaves dry off, and then in a couple weeks, when I bring them indoors, they'll be ready to box up. Okay, let's start with my first geranium. Or pot of geraniums. There might be a couple in here. But again, it's really hard to take apart a plant that looks like this. But there is a drying out process that's really important if you want to store these over the winter. So I always do this over a pot or a bin so that I can save some of that dirt. I put everything back into the garden or back into compost. And as you can see, it's done really well in this terracotta pot. I'll have to remember that. So anyway, I'm just trying to get this loose and pull this out without breaking it. Looks like quite a rough process, but we're going to rinse all of that dirt off of the leaves and the stems and the roots. So this looks like very nice dirt still. I'm going to go ahead and save that. And as you can see, a lot of the dirt just falls right off. Here's what you're left with, guys. Just basically one stem here with some leaves and roots. And we'll just go ahead and shake off as much as we can from this plant. And then the rest can be rinsed off. Here's my second geranium, looking great. And this one is the biggest one in the pot. And I can see I'm just teasing out the dirt, but I can see I'm gonna have to rinse that off as well. And these blooms can come off, all of the leaves will dry up, and you're basically just left with the stalks of your geranium. So that's the first pot done. Let me go ahead and get this second pot done. And again, I'm just pulling these out of their dirt. And I'll remember that they really did well in these pots next year. Okay. I don't even have to do a lot of rinsing. Look how good that looks, guys. Very good. So these are lots of plants here. I don't even remember having this many in the pot. And this almost looks like a new baby here. Look at that, guys. You can even store them with a little bit of dry dirt on them. I like to get them all clean. Make sure that there are no bugs in the soil. I just think it's better to do it that way. And these have a lot of flowers to remove. The last thing you want is it just put energy in it. We're trying to kind of turn off the growing and encourage dormancy. And that's another reason why I leave them out in my greenhouse during these lower temperatures, because I want it to go into a little dormancy mode. Look at that nice big one, guys. Isn't that great? This is what you get if you overwinter them, because they get to be a nice size. Now, you could cut back all of these and let it dry. I think I might go ahead and do that with this one, because it's going to take up a lot of space. I have more geraniums in here than I realized. See, I think this is a completely new baby, guys. I'm going to have so many geraniums next year. Isn't that wonderful? You can never have too many geraniums. And if you think about it, I've probably got about 15 geraniums in here. Even if you get a good deal on geraniums, you're going to be saving a lot of money next year, getting a head start on your container gardening. So I'm just piling these up until I can rinse them. So the plants like these really are going to need a good rinse. And that's it for the major dirt. I'm going to go ahead and take off these flowers. And I'm going to set my tub of dirt aside. I've saved a lot of dirt there. And I'll go ahead and turn on the hose. Okay, let's go ahead and rinse off that dirt. Get those roots as clean as we can. And again, if there's a little bit of dirt in there, that's okay. It'll dry off. But we want to get a majority off so those roots are dry and store well. It's all about how they're storing. You want them to be totally looking dried up before you put them in the box. And I think that's good for that one. Shake off the water, and I'm going to put it in the sun to dry. Rinse these all off. And this really gets off a lot of the dirt. I forgot what a messy process this is. I have unpotted all my red geraniums and hosed them down with a really strong jet and gotten most of the soil off of their roots. And now I've decided I need to go ahead and prune some of these back, which will help remove some of the leaves, and then the rest of the leaves can kind of die back during their drying process. And when I say drying, we don't want to dehydrate these, but we don't want to put them away with any live leaves. We basically just want the stems to go into dormancy and be able to overwinter inside in a box, which sounds like a completely impossible thing, but I did it last year and it was amazing. So hopefully I will have the same luck, be able to pull these out next spring, and they'll come back to life. But the key is putting them away with no live leaves, no dirt, and just letting them be in a dormant state for a few months. But I start them indoors in March, and by the time the last frost hits, they look pretty good and I can pop them outside. And look guys, it'll be a big head start. So that's what you want it to look like, and I'm going to prune it back and I'll show you what a pruned back geranium looks like. Okay, as you can see, I have a huge pile of debris. These are all the branches that I pruned off of my geraniums, and that's going to do it a lot of good because all of these leaves are holding moisture, and I don't want them to be packed up in the box over the winter. So let me go show you where I have my geranium plants laid out to dry. So I've decided to dry out my geranium plants up here in the polytunnel where they're not going to receive any rain. So I'm protecting them from water. And this is a partly shady location where I have it. But most importantly, I have it kind of on this open shelf that allows for good air circulation. And that's going to help dry out the roots And as these leaves die back, they'll just turn yellow or brown, and they'll just come right off. And by the time I put them away in a couple of weeks, they will have experienced some cold weather. They'll be completely dried out, and they'll be ready to store. And I just want to show you how I pruned them back. So this was a pretty big leggy geranium, and I just went back down the branch structure and made it a lot more compact. And I think in the spring when it starts growing again, it's going to be a really nice shape. But right away when you prune it back, you are removing some of those leaves which have to come off anyway. So I'm hoping the ends of these heal off really nicely before they go into dormancy. And you don't want to keep these in the sun too long because you don't want to encourage any growing. So when you take away the water and you take away the sun and you give them a touch of cold, not freezing temperatures, but in the 40s, then they get the signal it's time to be dormant. So guys, thanks for watching, and I'll give you an update when I pack these into boxes. And once they're dried out, you can just kind of stack them loosely and forget about them until March. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.